for as it's not just Eagles training camp reporting day, but in many ways, this is the day that Eagle fans everywhere have been waiting for. So we'll get into what you need to look for at Eagles training camp with NFL insider Adam Kaplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, like always, Josh, almost always, the Eagles usually sign a player or two, some veterans, just for depth purposes. We'll get into that move. The Eagles made one today, which I thought was interesting, but you don't want to read into anything. You can't. It's a depth issue, but a depth signing, and we'll explain it. We talked about this for a couple of months about what they might do at edge. But yeah, we're there. I mean, they got the conditioning test. Their first practice is tomorrow. They only practice during the week 2 days. They just practice Wednesday and Thursday, walk through Friday, then practice on Saturday.
So one of the things that we know about is when players show up to camp, they're not always in the condition that the team wants, right? And I know that there are tons of stories out of that you can give, not just with the Eagles, but with many teams, about players showing up to camp, the team being like, hey, buddy, maybe you need to maybe work on this a little bit, right?
Right. So I'm going to say 3 years ago, we had a note on Inside the Birds that Joey Mailata was too heavy at OTAs, and he was told to slim down. He lost about 25 pounds in about 6 weeks, and that's an example of it. You know, you tell a player based on what he looks like and what he weighs, and they gave him a goal weight, and he reached it rather easily. So then you've got the situations where players are told to gain weight, put mass on their frame. Jay Alexander was told that, and we'll see. That's one of the things I look at, Josh, when I go to camp is I look at size. I look at, if they put something on their body, do they need to put weight on? Because you could tell sometimes. I mean, I remember I'll give you an obscure player named Alex McAllister. If you're a real Eagles fan, you'll remember him. He was.
I remember him, Florida. Defensive end. You got
it. He was an edge rusher from, I believe, Florida?
Yep,
or
Florida.
State? Florida, okay. Howie Roseman School. So he looked so thin he couldn't even fill his jersey out. I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to make it, and he didn't. There's sometimes you could tell, like, this guy's going to have a problem, or if a guy looks too slow, you look for that stuff. So that, in terms of what I look for, and plus we'll give the fans who are going to go to NovaCare, that's where practices are, plus the one practice at the Link. If you're able to go, season ticket holders and invited guests. The guests are typically business clients and their families and so forth. But if you're able to go see them, I would look for this kind of stuff. Is the guy bigger than you thought, smaller than you thought, and stuff like that?
For you, Adam, when you look at over the years, obviously that's a big part of the day one of camp. So obviously what the fans don't really know about that as much. So for you, when you're looking at it as someone who's covering the team, what is something that needs to be with the depth chart you need people to look at?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me in OTAs. You make a note of it, but it doesn't really mean anything. It definitely means something, not so much the first day. It's at the first 2 weeks progress. You start to see rotations. Mm-hmm. You get to see who's running with the first, second, and third teams. There are generally three teams on offense and defense. And then every once in a while, if they have too many players, they'll have a fourth team. Those poor players, they're almost certainly not going to make it. Although Corey Clement in 2017, I remember him running with the fourth team initially. They moved him up very quickly because I remember taking that note, to the third team, then the second team, and as you know what happened, what an unbelievable story Corey Clement was. Eagles would not have won a Super Bowl without him. Let's call it like it is. Believe this or not, they wouldn't have won that Super Bowl. You know what he did in that game against New England? He was incredible and had a great season. But so I really do look at that. I look at where guys are lined up. Also, Josh, we'll talk about in a minute, but it's really, to me, what's the rotation look like? Who's working with the first, second, and third teams? But also, what we do see, and we do see this in OTs even more, the first day is not a direct indication of what will happen in season, because the next day they may work out, they may rotate, they may put someone else with the first team. So you don't want to overdo it. But after a week and a half, that's when you could say, you know what, I think we kind of learned stuff. We know who's going to be with the first team.
Talking with Adam Kaplan, NFL Insider at Kaplan NFL on the X platform. Of course, Inside the Birds podcast. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to Inside the Birds on YouTube as well. Adam, you mentioned about where players line up. This is always an interesting conversation because, as you said, people have opinions and ideas and theories about what guys are going to do, but then when you actually see them on the field running those 7-on-7s and those other 11-on-11 situations, that creates a whole nother conversation, right?
Yeah, so like offensively, okay, where's Miles Hinton going to line up, who's a 6th-round pick out of Michigan? He can play left or right tackle, so we'll look for that in training camp. Where's Terrace Marshall? Now, these are backups, but Terrace Marshall, is he going to play? He's better outside than he is inside, but how do they use him? Who's he play behind? A running back, is Will Shipley going to be used on 3rd down? If so, let's see how he does in pass protection. Although you're not really allowed to block very much during the 5-day acclimation period, but let's see what happens with him. But defensively, it's where it's at, Josh. What's the rotation look like? Where are they going to line up Ty Robinson, number 95, in training camp, who's the 4th-round pick from Nebraska, who they're very high on? When you look at the secondary, what's the rotation going to be at cornerback? And also, when we talk about where a guy's going to line up, where's Mac McWilliams going to line up? Now, the Eagles drafted him to mostly be nickel, but he can play outside. Are they going to use Drew Makuba, who's a safety but could play nickel because he did play it in college? Is he just a safety or does he play nickel? We didn't really talk a lot about that in the offseason, but it's something we were going to keep an eye on. By the way, where does Cooper DeJean? Is he only going to be a nickel? Will he play corner? What Vic Fangio did say in base, he probably will line him up. They only played base defense about 10 snaps per game. But let's see. I mean, that's the thing that I like to see. In OTAs, there's a lot of experimentation, so I don't put a lot of stock into it. But when you do something in training camp, it's generally deliberate. It's something that you're definitely considering, and I'm looking forward to seeing that this week and next week.
And by the way, Vic Fangio speaks on Thursday this week. And I remember last year, Adam, Fangio's been very open last year and this year about what he's going to do with guys. So you mentioned about DeJean. He is going to tell you what he likes and doesn't like sometimes about some of these guys, where they are lining up. Speaking of the players, how about player development, Adam?
Yeah.
Who are guys to have an eye on who from maybe last year to this year might be improving, might be regressing? What are you looking for in that department?
All right, let's start on offense at receiver. Danny Gray is a guy we've talked about on Inside the Birds since he's been here. A former 3rd-round pick for the Niners, who's maybe the fastest receiver they have on the team. We really want to see if he could contribute because their first 3 spots on the depth chart are set. After that, no one's assured of a job. So he's a guy we want to see because he didn't really play last year very much. And then Anai Smith, who was a non-factor last season, who's a slot receiver, returner, and manufactured touch player, who I know they were very excited about. He wasn't ready last year due to the foot problems. We want to see how he's developed. Certainly. And then Will Shipley, number 28, who's going to have a bigger role than he did last year. We want to see how he's developed going from 1 year to year 1 to year 2. That's a big deal, Josh. Defensively, Byron Young, who never played for the Eagles last season, he was claimed off waivers from the Raiders. The guy was a 3rd-round pick. Let's see if he can play. Gabe Hall, who had a good offseason, number 96, undrafted free agent who the Eagles gave a big practice squad guaranteed to last year. This is a guy who's got elite length, but that's about it. Is he a player? Well, we're going to find out. Inside backer Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Josh. Right now, he should be working with the ones. We'll learn more this week. He should be the guy who lines up mostly opposite Bond. We want to see how he develops. And in the secondary, it's obviously, this is the big one, and we'll get to edge in a second. Keely Ringo, for the second straight offseason, it's looked good. And then in OTAs only, we know what happened last year. He could not build on the really good OTAs last year. He struggled for the first week of training camp. And really, Isaiah Rodgers beat him out for that 3rd job. So can Ringo put it together? It's a big year for him. And then at edge, this is a major one with Jalen Hunt. By the way, this is something we're going to talk about on tomorrow's show. In addition to and I'll mention this player that they signed in a minute. But the player development on defense is so big because, Josh, you're going to have a minimum of 5 new starters on that side of the football.
Yeah, of course, obviously, that development is extra important, not just because of new players, Adam, because these are young players as well. These are not, tons of vested veterans all over the place. The Eagles had, I believe, was the 9th youngest roster in the NFL last year. Adam, speaking of the positions, camp battles, you mentioned Will Shipley earlier. Let's start with the number 2 running back spot.
Yeah, this is a big one, Josh. It's not that A.J. Dillon can't play on third down. That's just not what he does. And with Kenny Gainwell, who is their best pass protector for the past 3 seasons, not on the roster, he's now with Pittsburgh, although we're told the Eagles actually tried to re-sign him. But the money was similar. It was a little bit more with Pittsburgh. But the Eagles really like Shipley. He's more explosive than Gainwell. So we're going to learn early on what Will Shipley's role is going to be. But the number 2 job's open. Now, we expect Dillon to be that guy when Barkley can't play to handle a lot of carries. But you know what? A.J. Dillon's got to show he can still play. We don't know that yet. Right guard, everybody knows that job's up for grabs. It's Tyler Steen's job to lose. Safety, is Drew Makuba going to be ready to start over Sidney Brown? We think that's going to happen. That's going to be that answer, but he's got to go get it. And then corner, obviously, Ringo versus Adoree Jackson. That's the battle. That's the biggest battle on defense. And then edge, it's just that, Josh, is Azeez Ojulari going to be ready to be that third edge? And then is Jalen Sutton ready to be full-time? And what's the rotation going to look like? That'll work itself out in training camp. And I do want to mention, we'll talk about the roster moves that they made in a minute, but just overall, Josh, there are a lot of questions on defense because, look, they had the best defense in football last year statistically. They were great, way better than anyone could have believed they could be. And now they've had so much change. There are questions on that side of the football.
You mentioned the move they made just today. So for those who didn't see the news, not a crazy signing, but at least it's an interesting signing, at least from my perspective. Adam Kaplan, NFL Insider, the final one for you. I'm going to try to say this name. I might mispronounce it, but I believe what I saw was the pronunciation was Ogbo Okoronkwo. Is that correct?
Yeah, Obo's his nickname, I'm told. So yeah,
well, that's so much easier.
Yeah, I always know these obscure things. So what happened with him was he was drafted by the Rams. It didn't work out. He signs with the Texans as a sub-package rusher. He does really well. So then, Josh, he signs a 3-year deal as a free agent with the Browns for worth about $19 million. It's really good backup edge money, okay, Obo. And it just doesn't work out. Now, they stuck with him because the first 2 years, a lot of the money was guaranteed. He signed – it was one of these things where, like, they weren't going to give up on him because there was just too much money that he was owed. So they stuck by him. It didn't work. He wasn't bad, but just he wasn't good as they thought he should be. They couldn't justify paying him this funny, so they cut him. So this is a smart signing. We would settle off season. Eagles don't have to do anything at edge, but they really could use one more guy. Remember, Josh, you need to have 3 teams on each position. You got to have depth. We know it's Smith and Hunt, then Ojulari and Uche. The third team is Pal Ryland, and then Patrick Johnson's really not an edge rusher. He's a special teams player who could play edge if you need him. KJ Henry was cut on Tuesday. He's a guy that was drafted by Washington, but he wasn't going to make the team. O'Shawn Mathis was a former Rams draft pick. The Eagles signed him last year. They were taking a look at him. But here's the problem, Josh, because if Jahad Campbell was ready, different story. They wouldn't need to do anything. Yes, they're going to cross-train him eventually. He's going to start at inside backer, start off once he's cleared in August to practice. But had he never had surgery, they wouldn't need us because he'd be able to play both. But right now they don't know if he'll be an inch this season because they got to see how he handles inside backer first. So they really did need one more guy. Another position which we expect them to address at some point. I could not give you a timeline. Inside backer. If you think the Phillies bullpen is paper thin before David Robertson signing, Josh, the Eagles are even thinner at inside backer. They could barely line up. They could technically line up with 3 teams in training camp, but barely, Josh, and that's a position, by the time the preseason starts, they're probably going to have to do something.
He's NFL insider Adam Kaplan at Kaplan NFL on the X platform. Inside the Birds is the podcast. InsideTheBirds.com is the website. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget about the YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. Adam, great stuff today. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Football 4, as always, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So let's review some of the points Adam Kaplan made here on 97.3 ESPN with us. Josh Hennig again filling in for Mike Gill till 6 p.m. Mike will be back in tomorrow. So let's get into this. He mentioned about the shape the players come in. I think this is a very interesting thing because players don't show up to camp to get in shape anymore. A lot of guys do train in the offseason. So I am very curious to find out, are there any guys who would show up for camp this year? Now remember, conditioning was a big deal for the Eagles last year. Vic Fangio, Nick Sirianni, they really pushed the envelope when it came to getting guys in condition, having guys get in better shape. And what's interesting about that is you go back to Jordan Davis is the guy that I always think of last year. Jordan Davis was a guy who said that as the year went on, he got into better condition. He got, he started falling in love with doing the Peloton bike and all the stuff that comes with that. What I find interesting about that is you're talking about a guy who, he's a professional athlete. You would think in your mind he should be in good shape, he should be in good condition, but he wasn't. And so I am curious to find out as we move forward, are there going to be any guys who show up? Maybe they were enjoying the summer a little bit too much. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just wondering, thinking out loud, curious, just curious. Adam mentioned about the depth charts. Obviously, this is another big deal as well. Don't pay attention to what they are at the beginning of camp. Track them as you go through camp from the beginning to the end. That is an important part of this conversation as well. And then, on top of all of that, where players are lined up. This, to me, might be the most important thing Adam Kaplan brought up with us. Because where you line up is going to have a direct correlation with what you are going to do in the season. Don't get it twisted. What happens in training camp will play out in the regular season. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. This is part of the game. And so, for example, he mentioned Cooper DeJean. Vic Fangio said 2 months ago, hey, we might play Cooper DeJean in multiple positions. And there was a lot of reporting from people like Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, and others that this team viewed DeJean as more of a defensive weapon than a specific nickel corner. But he kind of got relegated the nickel corner because of the fact that he is a guy who is elite at a specific position. So as a result, he might be the best option, even if you want to play other positions, because you might have someone else to play those other positions. So those are some things to keep in mind with that. The other guy I'm curious to find out, they have leaned on Tristan McCollum as the primary backup safety. Does he continue in that role? Do they play him maybe as the backup nickel? Remember, Avonte Maddox was the starting nickel corner until DeJean took the job. And then when there were issues at safety, Maddox slid over to safety. It wasn't DeJean sliding to safety. So does McCollum now become the backup nickel corner? Player development. The player that probably needs the most development to make a major impact for this team is Moro Ojomo. He is a guy that's been highly lauded, highly spoken of by a plethora of people. So, if he is going to fill that Milton Williams void partnering with Ty Robinson, I think it's not going to be one guy who becomes the primary third tight end, defensive tackle. I think it's going to be multiple guys. But whoever that guy is, I think it's going to be a tandem, Ty Robinson and Moro Ojomo. And if what everyone says about Moro Ojomo is true, that he is basically a diamond in the rough, and he's waiting to explode and burst onto the scene, then I think that is a huge, huge guy to keep an eye on, because how well he performs in camp, maybe in preseason games, is probably going to determine. Because remember, Vic Fangio, he ripped Bryce Huff last year, and you saw Huff get less and less reps, less and less playing time. And Huff can complain all he wants now that he's no longer in Philadelphia, but he dug his own grave. If the coach tells you, I need you to do this job, and you don't want to do that job because you think you're too good for that job, well, you know what you're going to have? No job. I don't want to wish ill on Bryce Huff, but there is a bit of a, hey, I'm the guy who's here for the paycheck, not here for the game vibe to him. The fact that guy got a Super Bowl ring is a joke. Camp battles. The Will Shipley conversation is going to be fascinating. I know Andrew DeCecco has talked a lot about this on his DeCecco Daily as part of the Inside the Birds podcasting network. Will Shipley is a guy who was an electric weapon at Clemson. Can he be a similar change-up running back for the Eagles? We know Saquon historically is not a great pass blocker, but does Saquon improve his pass blocking enough to stay on the field for third down, or can Will Shipley become that guy? Right guard. This one everybody knows. Tyler Steen, Keon Green. Are those two guys going to be the primary combatants for this job? Or does former Eagle, now returning to the fold, Matt Pryor, potentially steal that job? There's a lot of 2017 vibes going on here. Remember 2017? You had Isaac Seumalo, Stefan Wisniewski, and Chance Warmack. Similar this time. You got a former first-round pick. You got a prospect you picked in day 2 of the draft who you really like, and you have a veteran who you know can do it if you need him to do it. Very similar vibes from 2017. We'll see if it repeats itself again 8 years later. Safety is pretty self-explanatory. My working theory has been that the Eagles want Drew Makuba to take the job, but they're okay with Sidney Brown if he earns the job. Corner, you heard Adam Kappa talk about it. Keely Ringo. This is his moment. This is his time. Is he going to be the man, or is he going to be outplayed by a guy like a Dory Jackson? And then finally, the edge position. We mentioned Okonru is one of the guys they signed. He's probably their third or fourth edge at this point in time. To me, this comes down to who is the man lining up across from Nolan Smith. Is it going to be Azeez Ojulari? Is it going to be Jalix Hunt? Is it going to be Josh Uche? Or is it going to be a combination of all of the above? Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the day the Eagles report to training camp. They are on the field tomorrow. It's a good day for Philadelphia sports. Phillies win a game last night that nobody saw coming. Eagles are back in camp, and we got you covered all year long on all of it and more here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Badge. Coming up on the side, it's Nick's Nuggets. Nick Earnshaw joins me to talk more about the Phillies, Eagles, and more right here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig hanging out with you for Mike Gill the rest of the way on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the home of the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles fans,
savor it, and rejoice!
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
The seafood, extraordinary. The value, tremendous. The sunsets on the house. It's Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant. Dine indoors, on the deck overlooking the bay, or watch the game at Sliders Bar with a new baseball-themed sliders menu. Enjoy delicious seafood, including Yuri's famous all-you-can-eat crabs, tropical summer cocktails, and daily specials. Yuri's has a kids menu and an arcade. And next to Yuri's is the Boathouse Restaurant. Two great ways to experience the Jersey Shore's best waterfront dining. Yuri's and the Boathouse at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood.
ZipRecruiter is the place.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies continuing their series tonight with the Boston Red Sox at Citizens Bank Park, coming off a 3-2 win in 10 innings on Monday, and they stay a half game ahead of the Mets in the NL East. The Phillies win the game when catcher interference was called. That allowed Brandon Marsh to score with the bases loaded. He was the winning run. Philadelphia will start Christopher Sanchez tonight against Richard Fitz. Eagles training camp underway at the NovaCare Complex. They signed former Browns defensive end Obo Okawankwo. They also signed defensive tackle Jacob Skies. Eagles opening up their 3-game preseason schedule August 7th against Cincinnati. Their star-studded offense now run by new coordinator Kevin Patullo. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
New Jersey's got a lot of summer wow. We got your under the sun wows. Your this is too much fun wows. Your that wine was sublime wows. And your one more time wows. So come see what your wow's gonna be. New Jersey, it's one summer wow after another after another. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
From the Towns for New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The next day with big weather troubles will be Friday. We flip back to steamy, potentially stormy weather. Until then, smooth sailing with a slow warming trend on the way. Tonight looks comfortable, quiet, mainly clear skies. Low temperature dips to around 67 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a little bit warmer and stickier, high 85. Sunny and seasonably hot Thursday, high 88. Friday jumps to 95. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Get ready for a night of non-stop laughter. Colin Jost is coming to Ovation Hall at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on Saturday, August 2nd. Tickets are on sale now at theoceanac.com.
Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Wow. Is challenging that there was catcher's interference on the play.
Can you imagine? Oh, my goodness, there was. Here we go.
After review, the call on the field is overturned. There is catcher's interference.
Wow! The Phillies have wanted a catcher's interference.
Well, tag your bags.
Baseball is amazing.
That was Tom McCarthy last night, courtesy audio of NBC Sports Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Phillies on the X platform. I know Nick Earnshaw was probably losing his mind last night as the Phillies went on to win because of catcher's interference. Nick Earnshaw, how are you doing today?
How's it going, Mr. Josh Hennig? That was awesome. I mean, Tom McCarthy couldn't explain it any better. Baseball is amazing, Josh Hennig. It is. It's a great game. It's the best game. First time since 1971, the Dodgers and the Reds. Johnny Bench, the great Johnny Bench. Catcher's interference to end the game. Willie Crawford. This is the first time in years and years and years before I was born, before you were born. I mean, we're going way back here. I think it's only happened twice since 1920, Josh Hennig. So you witnessed baseball history if you stayed up for that game last night. What was also funny is this was a fascinating tweet that I also saw, and I'll start with the fun ending for nugget number one here, Josh. Last night, Jake Starr, who is the director of media relations for the Reading Fightin' Phils, okay? So apparently last year, during a Reading Fightin' Phils game, there was a catcher's interference ending on September 4th against Erie. Walk-off catcher's interference, by the way. Guess who the batter was? Otto Kemp. Where was Otto Kemp last night? On second base during the catcher's interference. So this doesn't happen in baseball very often, Josh. And Otto Kemp has been a part of two total walk-off catcher's interferences in one single year. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Josh.
You can't make it up. But I do have a question, and that is that a good or a bad omen for Otto Kemp? Like, it's like kind of like the idea, lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, right? Like that's what they always say. So if it does strike the same place twice, is that a good thing or a bad? Like is Otto Kemp going to go on like the greatest heater of all time now as a result of this? Like he was there for these two momentous events, or does he get a massive injury like to end his season?
No, I think this is a good omen because if you've been a part of 2 walk-off wins and you are on the winning side of a catcher's interference in less than 1 year, it's got to be a good omen. You want Otto Kemp on your baseball team. You're going to win ball games in a weird way. I expect something even crazier next year, okay? Like, let's get off the catcher's interference. If Otto Kemp's on your baseball team, something weird's going to happen. So I think it's a good omen, but it just shows, like, how awesome baseball is because no other game are you going to end in something as weird as that. And by the way, there wasn't one base hit. A ball wasn't even put in play during that inning last night. Not one ball was put in play.
And by the way,
catcher's interference, all of it.
Can we talk about who was pitching? Because I remember there were Philly fans who wanted this guy. Remember? There were Philly fans who were like, we want Jordan Hicks. We got to go get Jordan Hicks. Well, now you see why you didn't want Jordan Hicks.
Jordan Hicks was all over the place last night. He comes in pass balls. Threw all over the place, nearly hits a guy, walk-in guys. Like, he was just all over. He was no Aroldis Chapman, who yesterday, was locked down. He gives up the base hit to Amundo Sosa and then locks in against the Phillies' top 3 hitters, Turner, Schwarber, Harper, and gets out of the inning. Be nice if Boston could fall back and realize, hey, they're not going to win a World Series this year, so give up Aroldis Chapman because he's not going to be here next year anyway. So the Phillies would love another left-handed reliever to replace Jose Alvarado. I digress, but you saw it last night. He's still pumping 100 in his late 30s. So it was a fun game last night. However, I was very disappointed with the Philadelphia Phillies, and here's why: the offense, brutal last night. Okay. You have a guy in Walker Buehler coming into the last night's game, had an ERA over 8 during away games. Okay. Away starts for Walker Buehler had an ERA over 8, is now down to 7.44 because of last night, and he pitched well. How a Phillies offense could not muster up and generate anything, any runs, grounding into double plays, the same old story. The offense was frustrating to watch for the majority of the game. I know the game was fun and ended, catcher's interference, great. But you could see it right there as to why they need a bat at the deadline, Josh.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but Dave Dombrowski, who spoke to the media yesterday, Nick Earnshaw, does disagree with you. For those who didn't hear, here is the great and all-knowing, the wise Wizard of Oz. President of Baseball Operations, Dave Dombrowski, yesterday when he spoke to the media.
But it's been hot and cold. Some of that fix has to come internal. It just has to. It just has to be a situation. You're not going to go out and make a bunch of trades. So you can look to supplement, but some of our guys internally, I think we hope will do better. I do think having Bryce back in the middle of your lineup makes a big difference too. But it's been inconsistent, and we need to get more consistent from the offensive perspective.
I'm sure that's not the ringing endorsement Nick Earnshaw was looking for.
No, because the offense has been inconsistent for 3 years. Okay, what are we doing here? I hope he's just trying to lay low before the deadline, not give away his hand, etc. Because this is a team that needs a bat too, as much as they need a bullpen piece. They go out, sign David Robertson. Fine. Okay. You had another arm in there who's been there, done that for the 3rd time. My gosh. It's like this team doesn't want to change. They don't want to change.
Well, really quick, can I ask you really quick?
Yeah.
Is it that they don't want to change, or is it that they are saying we have invested $500 million into these guys? We need a payoff on our investment.
I don't disagree with what Dave is saying, but they have holes in this lineup. Like second base, Stott's not been consistent. He's, been very much a disappointment. Center field's been an issue. Marsh has been better as of late, so I'll give him credit. But left field's been a black hole for how long? At this point, since you moved Bryce to first base. So I understand where he's coming from as to, yes, you need your guys to hit the baseball. You need the Turners of the world, the Harpers, the Schwarbers, the Castellanos. But you also have to look in the mirror and say, this lineup's not good enough. It's just not. You go look after tonight's lineup, right? You have it at the bottom of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, etc., the lineup's just not good enough. After Castellanos, is Realmuto going to get it done? He's aging. Marsh, Kemp, Kepler, Stott. They need a piece. They need protection there. I don't know if that bat's out there. Now, we've mentioned Rooker. Mike and I have. You and I have talked about it before on the locker room with Billy Schwein. We've talked about this a ton. Is that bat out there? And that brings me to nugget number 2, Josh. And I heard Mike talking about it earlier. And Luis Robert. Is he worth taking a flyer on at this team? This season on this team. I know he's great against left-handed pitching. He's hitting nearly 300. But do we want to add another platoon guy? I know you probably wouldn't have to give up as much to get him at this point. But is that enough to get you through a postseason? Because you don't know what you're going to get from him. Is he going to get here and really stink it up? He's awful against right-handers. He's been great in the past. He also is injury-prone at times. I don't love the idea of Luis Robert. I know so many people love it. There's so many people that hate it. I'm one of those that hate it because you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And what if he gets hurt? He's been hurt so much throughout his career. I don't think it's worth taking a flyer on. That's an off-season move. That is not a deadline move to get you over the hump. It's just not enough, Josh.
So I've been pretty consistent in this point for about 2 years now. I have as much interest in Luis Robert as I do getting my back run over by a rhinoceros. Okay? I don't understand.
That's one way to put it, Josh. That's one way to put it.
Well, I put it that way because the guy's always injured. The guy's had one healthy year in the last 5-6 years. And I don't care about his age. I don't care what his numbers are against left-handed pitching. This is Philadelphia. This is the city of injuries. This is the city where every young player who has ever had an injury gets more injuries. You acquired Austin Hayes last year, and where did he get? A kidney infection. I mean, this city is not immune for anything bad happening to you. So if I'm the Phillies, all I got to do is look around the city and say, you know what? We're not the Eagles. We cannot afford to bring in a guy who's been injured before. We got to get this right. If you waste any player on Luis Robert, you know what he's going to turn into? He's going to turn into Ben Brown. Remember Ben Brown? He was that 26th overall Phillies prospect they traded for Dave Robertson. Now Ben Brown is a not bona fide, but he's a starting pitcher, right? He is a guy who will certainly look better than Taijuan Walker would in this rotation. But instead, you gave up a guy who you quote-unquote can afford to get rid of. And this goes back to my Dave Dombrowski issue, Nick. This guy needs to get off his high horse. And why is it that Howie Roseman, Daryl Morey, Danny Briere, every other general manager, every other executive in the city can admit they make a mistake, and Dave Dombrowski acts like he is like God and he's never wrong? I don't understand this, Nick.
No, I hear what you're saying. And, he has been known as a general manager as someone who will be aggressive. He'll go out and make the big move. He'll trade the prospects. That has not happened as he's been with the Philadelphia Phillies. It just hasn't. It just has not happened with the Phillies. You haven't seen it. And this is the year where, Middleton makes those comments, but he also says in the same breath that, there's time after this era, right? And that makes me worried because I'm willing to part with the prospects for the right deal. If you have that year, 2025, out there in center field next to your new All-Star Game logo, no one's going to care that you traded Eduardo Tait, that you traded Aiden Miller. Oh, well, did you get a World Series out of it? So what? Okay, that is the goal here. You spent how much money? And you brought it up. How much on all of these players that need to produce? We'll add one more because the other half of your lineup stinks, okay? It stinks. I know those guys need to produce. And if they don't produce, so be it. But you spent all that money to go win a World Series in this era. Not 5 years from now, right now. I'm done with holding on to the prospects, okay? I'm just over it. Give up the prospects if you get the right deal. You're going to have to probably overpay for some players at this deadline, this specific deadline. Fine, because every team thinks they're in it now because there's a third wild card, okay? But there's going to be teams that are going to ask for, your top prospects. Okay, fine. I don't care. Take them. If it's going to help you have a better chance winning a World Series this year because the time is running out. You have a window. It's now. Go for it now. You don't have to give up everybody, but if you have to give up a couple a little more than you'd like, do it, Dave. Just go for it.
He's Nick Earnshaw, Nick's Nuggets here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. And Nick's Nuggets are as always being brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw, you work pretty hard. So what's your third nugget?
All right, nugget number 3. Happy training camp day, okay? We're reporting today the Philadelphia Eagles are there. I see your Eagles shirt on. I love it. I might need a shot of Jameson if the Phillies don't make, a trade deadline move. I got a problem with some comments. A player made, not an Eagle, but a player that plays against the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? And it's from the Los Angeles Rams. Kobe Turner, okay? A defensive lineman for the Rams, was on NFL Network's The Insiders last week. And they said, this is the Jared Verse thing that grinds my gears. Like, just stop talking. You're trying to make a rivalry out of nothing. There's no rivalry, okay? Kobe Turner said, quote, "I've had that loss in the back of my mind for a while. Obviously, it's on to a new season and on to continue progress, but I definitely have, I believe it's week 3, circled. I mean, even in the individual training right now, we're breaking down, okay, this is how some of the guys, some of the offensive linemen for the Eagles, this is how they block, and this is how we're going to defeat that." Josh, why are you focusing on a week 3 game in training camp? I know you have it circled, but you got week 1 coming up. You got to worry about week 1 first. Kobe Turner, relax. Okay, relax. You lost. There's no rivalry here. You lost fair and square. You couldn't stop Saquon. The snow run was fantastic. Kobe Turner, relax. You're not Jared Verse. You didn't get into it with Jalen Carter, okay? The fact that this team is so worried about the Philadelphia Eagles in week 3 that they have it circled, trying to make some type of rivalry like the 49ers and the Eagles for a little while. No, relax, Kobe Turner. Your response to this, Josh?
My response is Kobe Turner needs to look at his head coach. No, Sean McVay, he is 2-7 combined against the Eagles and the Lions in his coaching career. If I'm Kobe Turner, I need to maybe understand that maybe the problem has nothing to do with the Eagles. It has to do with that, for whatever reason, the Eagles got Sean McVay's number. Now, read into that what you will. I'm not going to sit here and say Sean McVay can't beat the Eagles or something crazy like that. But it is it feels pretty interesting, Nick, that every time the Rams play the Eagles, they seem to lose. And I think Kobe Turner's attention is in the wrong area. He's focusing on week 3. He needs to focus in the locker room. Not week 1. Not training camp. Practice. We're talking about practice. Training camp. How about you get in the right headset, Kobe Turner, and get your head coach to come out of his shell so you have a chance to beat the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he went on to say, quote, "So, I mean, ultimately, the thing that really got us last year is there's
So
I
meant to say.
Yeah. I mean, he said, quote, "We stopped the run for the most part, handled it really well, but a couple of those runs where we didn't fit it up right, where Saquon was able to get the second level fast, and he's super dangerous there. So at the end of the day, it's about getting Saquon down, and that's what we're going to do a lot better this year, making sure that we stop the run on the run." Good luck. Good luck, guys. I mean, it's great. It's great. Why are you talking about the Eagles? Why are you talking about last year? Great. Like, this is a new year. It's a new slate. Focus on, like you said, training camp, the locker room, week 1. Like, you'll get there. You'll get there. I understand. Like, it's a big game. You want revenge. I understand it. But why are all these Rams? And I love that the Eagles pay no mind to this. Only I do, because it gets under my skin a little bit. And it's just like, stop. Just stop. Okay, and I love roasting a Rams player. Nothing better than roasting a Rams player, okay? Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, stop talking about the Eagles. They're just living rent-free in your heads. Knock it off. Knock it off at this point. So, I thought that was funny that another Rams player is out there trying to start something with the Philadelphia Eagles, and no Eagle responds to it because it's like, look at my new ring. It's bigger than the last one. How about that?
Listen, I think the only thing that make you more happy is the continued chaos down in Dallas, right? I mean, that's got to be the only thing that makes Nick Earnshaw happy.
Jerry Jones. Mike might have been right. We can cheer Jerry Jones because he's a great general manager. He's awesome out there. You could stay there, Jerry. Call out your players every single week. All right. You can do that. Keep doing it and stop and keep calling them out for giving them big money and them getting hurt. That's fine. That's fine. That's how you guys want to run things in Dallas. It's awesome. That's the Nuggets, Josh, for you today.
Well, really quick before we get out of here, I got to follow on the Jerry Jones thing because I love how now former Cowboys are calling out Jerry.
Yeah.
Like former players are like, Jerry, you can't be doing this. Like it's almost like Jerry, like in wrestling, right? Like when someone goes heel, like Jerry's going like super heel. Like he is going like super villain mode where he's trying to make it about everyone else but himself. And
Jerry, you're doing great. You're doing great, bud. You're doing great.
And I keep wondering which owner is going to finally bite the bullet and accept it. Is it going to be the Cowboys owner or the Bengals owner? Is it going to be Jerry Jones or Mike Brown? Because you got two elite pass rushers in Trey Hendrickson and in Micah Parsons who both need to get paid. And both owners are like, well,
As they say, let him cook. Just let him cook. Okay, just let Jerry cook. I mean, I love it. He's doing a great job. We'll cheer him. Like Mike Gill, I said we loved booing Jerry Jones. Actually, I think I agree with Mike now. Let's keep cheering him on. There you go, Josh.
He's Nick Earnshaw with the Nuggets. Of course, the Nuggets are always brought to you by The Hub. Great gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw, can't keep up with your schedule. Everyone's got different schedules. So are you on tomorrow or not?
I will be on tomorrow. I'll be
all
there.
right. Nick Earnshaw's back tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, haven't checked in the text board yet today at 609-403-0973. Phillies with the unique win last night, but Dave Dombrowski is still convinced that the team as currently constructed is good enough. We'll get to that, and still to come on the show, this former Eagle has high praise for the Eagles quarterback, and it's contrary to what an NFL MVP award winner says.
This Friday night,
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday edition, driving you home here on 97.3 ESPN. The 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is being brought to you by White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. The summer clearance event is on now at White Horse RV. White Horse RV, your RV adventure starts here at White Horse RV in Galloway and Williamstown. Obviously, for those who can hear the song that I'm playing, I know some of you of an age connect Ozzy Osbourne maybe with a reality TV show, but you might not know that he is arguably one of the most famous rockers. You might not have liked some of his anecdotes and his isms over the years, but he was still an icon, and the man has passed away today. So, rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. Thoughts and prayers to his family. Frankly, it's a miracle the man lived as long as he did, considering the amount of substance abuse he consumed, shall I say. So, crazy day today as the Eagles report for training camp. The Phillies win one of the most ridiculous games I've ever seen ending. Listen, the last time a team walked off on a catcher's interference was 1971. You, me, and almost everybody listening did not see that game. If you were the one person who was at that game, bless your heart, man, because that's insane. Last night, the Phillies finally get a win, but in the most unlikely way. And what's frustrating about the game last night, if you're a Phillies fan, is that the lineup today is the same as it was last night. And the significance of that is you won the game 3-2. And in the final, as Nick Earnshaw brought up about 20 minutes ago, in the final part of the game, you didn't get a hit. It was the pitcher who put you in a position to win the game, Jordan Hicks. And then the catcher made a mistake. That's all that was last night. That's all that was. It was nothing more than that. I'm not giving the Phillies a bunch of credit. They're fortunate to win that game. Very, very, very fortunate. The Phillies are now 9 days from the MLB trade deadline. And look, we are going to be getting daily updates about the changing topography of the baseball landscape. And there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to make some difficult decisions about who they are going to keep and who they're going to let go. Look, we all know who the teams that are selling are. But the teams that had the players that the Phillies really want, that can change. And I do give a man who I've ripped mercilessly for a long time here on 97.3 ESPN, Dave Dombrowski deserves credit. Because when he was asked about the upcoming deadline, he said this, and I give him credit because he basically put it out there. We are not running away from anything, and the possibilities are endless for us. Take a listen.
We are in a position where there are a lot of clubs that are still in the battle, but a lot of things change daily at this time. I think some clubs, when I talked to them last week, or we talked to them last week, they had one mindset, and then after a weekend of good or bad, they have another mindset. And that may change a couple more times between now and the 31st. It's, what's today, the 21st? I mean, you're talking about 10 days in trading deadline. That's a long time.
It is a long time. And I think that for the Phillies, last night was another example of why you need more offense. To me, it's very, very clear. Now, not the Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies, but to me, it's very clear that this team as currently constructed is not a championship caliber team. The only thing you have going for you is that the Phillies, who have 57 wins, right now have the fourth best run differential in the National League. So that means there are only 3 teams with a better run differential. And frankly, I don't know if 2 of those 3 teams are significantly better than you. No one is scared of the Milwaukee Brewers in a playoff series. I think the Milwaukee Brewers have had success based on some smokescreens and some internal angst that they felt they should have made a deeper playoff run last year. I think the Cubs are a very good baseball team, but to me, they feel like they're more offense than defense. And the Dodgers, they got so many injuries, I don't know how that team is going to stabilize for the postseason. They're going to be fortunate that any of those guys come back to normal for the postseason. So it's not like the Phillies are in a predicament where they are this massive underdog heading into the postseason. The problem is in the regular season, they have shown that they are an extremely flawed team. And these last 4 games coming out of the All-Star break proves that. You lost the game 6-5 because of your bullpen. You lost the game 8-2 because of your offense falling apart. And then you won the game last night because your offense couldn't score more than 2 runs until a catcher's interference call got you an extra run. I know, I'm the guy who says, doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. I say that all the time here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday till 6 p.m. But let me tell you something. You guys can text in at 609-403-0973. You could offer me the good vibes. You could offer me the bad vibes. My vibes are neutral. Dombrowski says I got 9 days. 9 days to find out what this team is going to do. And when I look around Major League Baseball, he's right. A hot streak or a cold streak will change the look of everything. The Boston Red Sox have won 7 of the last 10 games. They are a team that is moving in a direction where it is very unlikely they are going to trade anyone. And if they do trade anyone, it's going to improve their team, not to sell off. The Guardians are a team that are 8 of their last 10 games. It's looking more and more like Emmanuel Clase is not going to get traded. The team you got to keep an eye on in the American League is the team that is 5-5 in their last 10. It's the team that has specific players that Philadelphia can use. Matt Gelb, I spoke with him from The Athletic here on 97.3 ESPN, hanging with Hennig 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. And he mentioned the Guardians. Now, the Guardians since then have gone on a hot streak. But the other team he mentions, when I asked him about what teams to keep an eye on, is a team that has gone 5-5 in their last 10. A team that has struggled immensely at times to win ball games.
2 teams I would focus on right now, if you're a Phillies fan, watching them from afar and seeing, how they perform and, whether they become true sellers, are Cleveland and Minnesota. And Minnesota specifically, I think, with Yohan Duran, fireball closer, and Griffin Jacks, who honestly, you'll look at the numbers, you'll see the ERA and be like, it's like 4. Why do they want this guy so much? But I'm telling you, teams across the sport I think that Griffin Jacks is a stud, and he has got the swing and miss kind of stuff that the Phillies really need.
Notice you didn't hear anything about a bat in there. And that's really where the conundrum is for the Phillies. Every insider, from Matt Gill of The Athletic to Ken Rosenthal to Jim Bowden from CBS Sports to Jeff Passan from ESPN to Jason Stark from The Athletic, every baseball guy is giving you the same information. The Phillies are calling teams about bullpen. They're calling teams about relievers. They're not calling anybody about hitters. The Twins have two bullpen arms that would definitely interest Philadelphia. The question is, what are you going to trade to get those guys? You heard Griffin Jacks. You heard Johan Duran. Now, the problem with those two names is they are still on teams that think they're in a playoff hunt. Right now, the Twins are 5 games out of the wild card. They have 5 teams ahead of them in that race. The Twins are right on that razor's edge of switching from we think we can to we need to sell. Johan Duran fits the profile of what the Philadelphia Phillies want. Everyone who knows anything about the Phillies has said, Philadelphia does not want rental players. They want players with control. That are under contract, under team control moving forward. Duran could not be a free agent until 2028. He is a guy that fits the profile for Philadelphia. Then you have Griffin Jacks. A little older than Duran, but also under team control for the next couple years. So you have 2 players who fit the profile of something Philadelphia needs, who fit the profile of what they would like to get. So then the question becomes, what is Philadelphia willing to give up to get said player or players? I wrote an article yesterday at 973ESPN.com. The top 10 trade assets for Philadelphia. Again, going based off of the reporting from ESPN, The Athletic, MLB.com, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, everyone and anyone. The Phillies are not trading Andrew Painter. But what they are doing is they're willing to have conversations about other guys. And it's no coincidence that Philadelphia drafted 9 pitchers in the first 10 rounds of the MLB draft. Because guys like Mick Abel, Moise Chance, and other pitchers in their minor league system are available. Alex McFarland is a guy that a lot of teams are fascinated with. Those are 3 guys that I could see Philadelphia going to the Twins and telling them, we would like Jacks and Duran. Look at our cupboard of minor league pitchers. Tell us who you want. If it's not named Andrew Painter, we'll have a conversation. Because Dave Dombrowski made it very clear yesterday when he spoke to the media. He made it very clear that they are not planning to fix the offense with a big trade at the deadline.
It's been hot and cold. Some of that fix has to come internal. It just has to. I mean, it just has to be a situation. You're not going to go out and make a bunch of trades. So you can look to supplement, but some of our guys internally, I think we hope will do better. I do think having Bryce back in the middle of your lineup makes a big difference too. But it's been inconsistent, and we need to get more consistent from the offensive perspective.
Listen, in the most literal sense, he's not wrong. Yes, they do need to play better. Thanks, Sherlock. Appreciate it. They need to be more consistent. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the insight. Bryce Harper in the middle of the lineup changes a lot. Thanks, Dave. Would have never known that. The ego on this man who runs the Phillies is incredible. And he talks to the media and the fans like children. Like we're just a bunch of dumb idiots. Hey, Dave, why don't you tell us something we don't know? We're inconsistent. We run hot and cold. We're a better team when Bryce Harper's in the middle of the lineup. Oh, boy. Could never figure that out on my own. Oh, man, thanks for clearing that up, buddy. The Phillies need another bat. And not just because Alec Boehm is out for an indefinite period of time with a fractured rib. They need another bat in the lineup because they need another bat in the lineup the whole year. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have been the only consistent bats in the last couple weeks. You got 9 guys in the lineup. In order for you, in order for you to win, week in and week out, game in and game out, how many games have you won this year? What is it, 57? Let me look it up here. 57. In order for you to win another 40 games, I need 2 other dudes in this lineup to show up. And I'm not talking about Trey Turner. GT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos. Might be nice if you guys showed up more than once in a blue moon. Because I can't depend on Brandon Marsh. Bryson Stott has fallen off. I can't play Edmundo Sosa every day. And don't get me started on Max Kepler. I mean, what a waste of $10 million. And that guy thinks he needs to get more playing time? I know Phillies from the years they were losing who deserve more playing time than Max Kepler. I'll tell you right now, if you're a Phillies fan who's over the age of 30, you can attest to this. You would take Greg Jeffries. You would take Ron Gant. You would take those guys from that era. Mark Whitten. Remember him? You take all those guys over Max Kepler. Mr. I think I deserve playing time. I am not in a rhythm. Where's Pat Burrell when you need him? I mean, you don't realize how good you have it till you don't have it anymore. We lived in a world where you go back and look at some of the Phillies teams over the years, and you realize, man, those Phillies teams couldn't make the postseason, but their outfielders were much better than this one. I'll tell you what. Can I get Pat Burrell, Doug Glanville, and Bobby Abreu back? Can I get an exchange? Because Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, and Max Kepler ain't doing it. And the fact that Dave Dombrowski says, well, we just got to play better. I'm old enough to remember when the Phillies had better. You know, it's the same dumb Dave Dombrowski that tells John Milton, hey, let me tell you a story about the 2006 Cardinals. I can tell you what else happened in 2006. The Phillies outfield was better in 2006 than 2025. I don't care what Dave Dombrowski thinks. Pat Burrell over Max Kepler, that's easy. Aaron Rowan over Marsh and Rojas, that's easy. Bobby Abreu over Nick Castellanos, very easy. but hey, we're just supposed to play better. We're a hot and cold team. I mean, is anyone more of a condescending schmuck than Dave Dombrowski? Please let me know at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Steven Ventnor chimes in. Says, I feel like every name that has been mentioned has been linked to the Phillies aside from Dalton Varsho and Dylan Moore. He says, I would trade Painter if you want to get a star. You'll get the closer, either Clase or Duran, plus a bat, Kwan or Thomas, or Buxton or Bader. Well, they're not trading Painter, so the problem, Steven Ventnor, is, here's the thing. And this goes back to the high and mighty God, Wizard of Oz, Dave Dombrowski. The Phillies don't want to trade Painter, Steven Ventnor. You might be willing to trade him. I might be willing to trade him. The Phillies are not. Because I guarantee you, if you would have traded Painter, you would have gotten what you needed already. I agree with you on that 100%. Now, the problem is, as you say in your text, McFarland, Cabrera, these are guys that can maybe get you something. I'm not 100% sure what Cabrera's value is, okay? But as I wrote about at 973ESPN.com, the Phillies are not telling people no about Miller and Crawford. They're not telling people no about Mick Abel or Alex McFarland or any of these guys in the minor leagues. I think the issue ultimately is Philadelphia has two separate issues. You always overvalue your own prospects, and you try to get somebody else to buy in to your overvaluation. It's like if you go to a car dealership, right? You only want to pay a certain number for your car. The car that you want. The dealership's trying to explain to you that when they're giving you all of the discounts, they're chopping the car down to the bare minimum of what the valuation is if they give you nothing special, nothing extra, none of the perks, none of the bonuses, none of the extra fancy stuff in the car. You are at the base bottom line of that vehicle, and you're still telling them, yeah, I don't value the vehicle at that number. To which the dealership says, well, I'll find somebody else to sell it to. That's the trade deadline. The Phillies are walking around with their chest puffed out saying, we love our prospects. And other teams are saying, I don't value some of your prospects the way you do. So then what's going to give first? Is it going to be the Phillies? Or is it going to be the other guys? By the way, yes, George and Galloway, Ozzy Osbourne passed away today. That is true. I actually thought it was fake news as well. When I first saw people posting about it online, I didn't know it was real either. I got to be honest. I was like, Ozzy Osbourne died. It's one of those things where it's like you start asking questions like, is this a real account? Is it verified? Is anybody else reporting this? Let's get to Dan EHT before we hit the break at 609-403-0973. He says, read between the lines, Josh. Come on, you can't just spend stupid money. Last year at the deadline, they got Hayes and Estevez. They were really good players. This deadline is the same. You are dreaming if you think there's a stud out there to acquire, Josh. Well, Dan EHT, I'll spin it back to you. You read between the lines. I never said there was a stud star player for the Phillies to acquire. What I said was that there are players the Phillies could acquire, but are they going to be willing to give up what other teams are asking for them? We have heard that Johan Duran and Griffin Jax have been available. They are available. The Twins are considering selling off. But if the Twins turn to you and say, look, we'll give you Jax and we'll give you Duran, but we want Mick Abel and McFarland and I don't know who else. If the Phillies are not willing to give it up, Danny HT, then you read between the lines. They're not serious about getting what they really need. We know there are players out there available. David Bednar's, the guy in Pittsburgh, left-handed reliever. If the Tigers turn to you and say, well, we'll give you Bednar and Santana. We'll beef up your whole bullpen for you. But we want... Who would they want? That's the question. If they're looking for a package of players, and that package is, let's say, headlined by Aiden Miller, well, you're not trading Aiden Miller for 2 above-average relief pitchers. See, you're talking about spending stupid money. I'm talking about walking out of the market with something you need. Now, look, the Hayes and Estevez thing didn't work out last year. We know the Phillies tried to get Garrett Crochet last year. Didn't work out. So I'm not saying they're trying. But we're talking about guys who are either former All-Stars or borderline All-Stars. The Red Sox, Jared Duran was the All-Star Game MVP. That's not a subpar player, Dan EHT. Johan Duran, the closer of the Twins, not a subpar player. That's an all-star caliber player. Griffin Jax, not a subpar player. In fact, he's better than almost everyone in your current bullpen right now. And listen, there are hitters to be had out there if the Phillies really want to dig in and get them. And I'm not talking about Luis Robert Jr. The only man who's more injured more often than Luis Robert Jr. is Joel Embiid. You don't want that guy. But I think Ryan O'Hearn and Jared Duran would be major upgrades over Max Kepler. Cedric Mullins is an upgrade over Kepler and Marsh. I don't even know if Brett Rooker's available. I don't think he is, at least according to the reporting out there. But you're telling me you can't call the Pirates and say, is Andrew McCutchen willing to waive his no trade clause, come back to Philadelphia? Give up a low-level prospect for a right-handed bat who's better than Weston Wilson? Again, it's not about finding a star, Dan HT. It's about finding someone better than what you got. And isn't that the whole point of the trade deadline? Making your team better than it was before? Keep the text coming in. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on a Tuesday on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Step up to the plate, Phillies fans. Now through July 30th, Instant Services, your total comfort specialists, is giving you the chance to win 4 Hall of Fame club tickets to see the Phils in style. See details at instantservices.com. Call in the pros at Instant Services for your HVAC, plumbing, or electrical needs in South Jersey, PA, and Delaware. With free in-home HVAC estimates, 24/7 emergency service, and financing options, Instant Services is always ready to bring the heat or cool things down. Visit instantservices.com.
construction reduction sales event continues at Matt Black Kia. Right now, get $3,000 over budget.
with Viking Pest. With over 40 years of local service, Viking is proud to be a part of our community, working with homeowners and local businesses through customized pest control solutions. Let us help you reclaim your space. Visit VikingPest.com to learn more. That's VikingPest.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Five o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. It's being brought to you by White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. The summer clearance event is on now at White Horse RV Center. White Horse RV, your RV adventure starts here at White Horse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. I love the person who texts in at 609-403-0973. Because all of you guys who text in are great. We appreciate all of you listening to 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. But the most entertaining is the person who's willing to criticize you, who puts their name on the text. You're the real MVP, to use the Kevin Durant term. Not because I want you to disagree with me necessarily, but because I'd rather you put your name on it so I have an idea of what kind of person I'm talking to. The person who texts in and criticizes without putting their name on it, I mean, that's like a Twitter troll. I can't even acknowledge your existence. So while Tom and Ventnor is obviously very unhappy with me at 609-403-0973, I at least respect the ability for the man to put his name on the text. Now, what he's saying in the text, it's not a conversation. Tom from Ventnor says, gotta love the confidence of a guy who knows more than the GM from behind a microphone and a vending machine sandwich. Listen to you break down the Phillies trade deadline is like watching someone try to grill a cheesesteak with a hairdryer. Loud, confusing, and somehow still missing the meat. Let's break that down. First of all, if I didn't have confidence in what I was saying, why would I say it, Tom and Ventnor? Number two, if I didn't know more than the GM, then why don't you explain to me how what Dave Dombrowski is saying and doing is a demonstration of how he knows more than me? How does signing Jordan Romano and Max Kepler make Dave Dombrowski know more than the guy behind the microphone? How does Dave Dombrowski giving us Captain Obvious comments mean that he knows better than the guy behind the microphone? See, you want to criticize what I'm saying, but yet you are missing the point. He goes on to say, Tom and Ventnor, Andrew McCutchen, question mark, and then he decides to go on and give me some stats about Andrew McCutchen. And then he says, how does this help you? Your Phillies trade deadline tastes like a Wawa slushy. I think you meant slushy, but you said sushi. Or is it sushi? I'm not sure. But he says, questionable, overhyped, and dangerous, taken seriously. Well, first of all, you are calling it what I'm saying, questionable, overhyped, and dangerous, taken seriously. But yet you've given me no example except for two stats about Andrew McCutchen about anything I've said that is incorrect. Now, again, Tom and Ventnor, respect it. But you got to give me more than just veiled shots and criticisms from the 700 Club. I'm old enough to remember the vet. I've heard worse things at the vet than you're saying to me, okay? You go on to say, I love you. You talk like you have a direct line in front office. Well, obviously I don't, because everything I'm saying they're not listening to. See, the problem, Tom and Ventnor, is that you're willing to criticize and put your name on it. Respect those two things. But you missed the third point of this. It's where Tom Ventnor strikes out, swing and a miss. And he does it with the intensity of a man who thinks he's in the right. But he misses the whole point of step 3. See, Dan and EHT delivered on step 3. Dan and EHT came up with examples, bona fide reasons why he disagreed. See, Dan and EHT goes on to ask, do you think Estevez was a stud player? And I would say no. See, the problem, Dan and EHT, is that I'm not asking the Phillies to just go out and get anybody. That's the problem with the conversation we're having. I am not, and maybe this is just going over everybody's heads. If Tom from Ventnor doesn't understand and Dan Needs, you don't understand. Johan Duran, Griffin Jacks, Stephen Kwan, Mason Miller, Duran from Boston, 2 different Durans. None of those players are marginal. Even Bednard is an above average pitcher. The point of this conversation is not to say that there's some great talent out there that Phillies can get. It's to say that there are players that you can get and you're not getting them. It's about understanding that Philadelphia, Phillies specifically, not the Eagles. The Eagles have a smart GM. By the way, the Eagles have a GM who admits when he makes a mistake, rectifies the mistake, and builds a Super Bowl championship team. We have been giving Dave Dombrowski credit for everything he did before he came to Philadelphia. Since he's been in Philadelphia, we've gotten a mixed bag. The man's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not taking that away from him. But just because he built not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 teams that have gone to World Series appearances doesn't change the reality that this man has made moves that have not put this team in a better position than they were previously to be successful. Now, Dan and EHT, he, through the conversation, while he disagrees with what I'm talking about when it comes to getting a top-tier player, he understands about Dombrowski when Danny HT says, I guess Dombrowski is turning into Daryl Morey. Every offseason let scrubs go and replace them with more scrubs. Now, see, Danny HT gets it. He disagrees with me on one point and agrees with me on another. We're adults, me and Danny HT. Tom and Ventnor, I'm not fully sure what he's getting at because his last segment just makes 0 sense. Again, I'm going off of reports. People who know more than me, people know more than Dan and HT, Tom and Ventnor, knows more than all of us. We're all in the same boat here. But I've always been the guy who says, if you and I are watching the game, and you and I both know it needs to be done, you and I both know what the right decision is, and the people in charge are not doing that, but all of us can see that the king has no clothes, but the king is telling you he's got a great new robe, and you just can't see it. But hey, as one texter pointed out at 609-403-0973, Josh is super sassy today. If pointing out the obvious makes me sassy, then I am well beyond sassy, my friend. Because to me, this is obvious. It is obvious that this team is not good enough. It is obvious, based on reporting out there, that they are players who would make this lineup better, who can make this bullpen better. But for whatever reason, the Phillies have taken a position of, again, I'll play the audio from Dombrowski again. Because we live in a world where Jarren Duran and Cedric Mullins and a bunch of other guys who could be had at the deadline are all better than Max Kepler. They're all better than Brandon Marsh. I mean, if I had $1 for every time as Steve from Ventnor texted in Joe Adell's name, I'd be rich by now. These are all players who are better than what you got. When Dave Dombrowski is asked about the offensive issues, the inconsistencies, and the struggles that the team has had, this is the answer he gives you.
It's been hot and cold. Some of that fix has to come internal. It just has to. I mean, it just has to be a situation. You're not going to go out and make a bunch of trades. So you can look to supplement, but some of our guys internally, I think we hope will do better. I do think having Bryce back in the middle of your lineup makes a big difference too. But it's been inconsistent, and we need to get more consistent from the offensive perspective.
How does anything he said there make you feel better? How does anything the president of baseball operations said, the man who supposedly knows more than all of us, make you feel better? Well, we got to fix it internally. How you doing that? Well, we got to play better. Thanks. Well, you're always better when Bryce Harper's in the lineup. Great. I think Dave Dombrowski should just come out and say, hey, look, we haven't played to the level that we should play at this year. It's frustrating, but we're going to exhaust every possibility to make this team better. And I believe in these guys. We didn't sign these guys because we didn't believe in them, but we're going to try and make this team better. Can't tell you what that is. I'm not going to give away my trade secrets. I got 9 days to the deadline. Watch me work and then just walk away. That's what he should have done. But instead, he wants to instruct us on baseball because he knows better than all of us. If that makes me sassy, whatever sassy is, times it by 10. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of being told how stupid Philadelphia sports fans are because we're seeing something at the great and mighty Wizard of Oz, Dave Dombrowski, doesn't see. We'll wrap up the Sports Bash. Coming up next, Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Summer closeout sale at Matt Blatt Nissan. New Nissan Rogue, Murano, or Pathfinder. 0 down, 0% financing for 60 months. Stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man can get you released.
My dad loves helping people at Matt Blatt Nissan. Matt Blatt Nissan is the best. 0 down, 0% MattBlattNissan.com.
Unapproved Tier 1 credit through NMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag at $589.3. Offer ends August 8, 25. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With Progressive, you can reach customer service in the way that's easiest for you, by phone, app, or online. We know it would be great if we just magically appeared, but that's more of a genie thing, and we do insurance. But with us, you'd be like, well, it wasn't a genie, but it was great customer service, so that's nice. And sure, you probably would still like the whole 3 wishes thing, so if you meet a genie, you should definitely ask. But when you need us, contact Progressive by phone, app, or online. Just no genies. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit FVGradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now. 800-417-6411. That's 800-417-6411. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 1-800-417-6411. 800-417-6411 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways. It is not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Beat the heat with a brand new AC system from Broadlees. Is your unit struggling? Then upgrade now to a Bryant High Efficiency Coastal Unit, built to handle the heat and salty air. Get 0% financing for 7 years with no money down. Plus, get rebates and tax credits on select systems. Don't wait. Call Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air today, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer at 609-390-3907 or visit broadlees.net. Bryant, whatever it takes.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today, talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit calvielectric.com today or call 609-345-0151.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, let's get the final batch of texts that came in at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig been filling in for Mike Gill the last 2 hours here on 97.3 ESPN on the Sports Bash. Bobby in Wildwood says Dombrowski sounds like the ship is sinking, but will try to make it ashore. Bobby in Wildwood, he gets it. Let's see here. Stephen EHT. Dombrowski's problem, exactly what he said. He's too stubborn to admit his mistakes. Howie Roseman has no problem benching Bryce Huff, who is the highest paid defensive acquisition. On the other hand, Dombrowski refused to take action to rectify his many mistakes because he doesn't want many messed up. And then Stephen EHT writes in caps, There is no reason Max Kepler should be in a Phillies no uniform. None. That's from Stephen EHT. Stephen EHT gets it. How about Dan and EHT? I hate to say this, but I don't think it's going to be a good deadline for the Phillies. Dan EHT, I hope you're wrong. Listen, Dombrowski still can rectify this. He can still find a way to not let this be an absolute disaster. As he says, he has, well, it was 10 days yesterday, 9 days to figure this out. All right, thanks everybody texting. Even Tom from Ventnor seems to be very angry with everything I say today. Tom from Ventnor, I hope your day gets better. Because, I mean, you're just going on and on like a man who's got nothing happy in his life. I hope the Phillies win tonight. Maybe that'll make Tom from Ventnor happy. Christopher Sanchez on the mound tonight. Should have been an all-star, by the way. But Major League Baseball is run by idiots. But I'm sure someone will say that I don't know more than Rob Manfred either. Thanks to Nick Earnshaw and Adam Kaplan for jumping on. Thanks to everybody who texted in. Dan, EHC, Bobby, and Wildwood, Stephen, EHC, George, and Galloway, and all the rest of you. Thank you for listening to 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig, I'm filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. Have a great night, everybody.